What's up, YouTube? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is BoxingWave. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also hit that like button. Support the channel. Hit the bell notification so you'll be notified whenever I drop new content. Hold on. Little coffee maker bugging out over here. All right. What's up, YouTube? What's going on? Make sure you subscribe to the channel. All right. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and follow me on all social media platforms, Twitter and IG at BoxingWave10. Hope everyone is having a good week. We have some fights coming up this weekend. Derek Chisora against Joseph Parker. We also have Andy Ruiz against Chris Arreola. That's going to be on PBC pay-per-view, I think. All right. And the Chisora Parker fight, which is a pretty solid card, will be on DAZN. All right. So we'll talk more about that later or in another live, because I do want to talk about a lot of things that occurred throughout this week. I want to talk about last weekend's fight on Top Rank. And I want to talk. There's a lot of news that's been coming out throughout the week. I haven't been on since Saturday. All right, since last Saturday. So I want to discuss some other things before we get to the fights of this weekend. All right. So first of all, shout out to everyone that's here. Ignorant Boxing, Welsh Alcoholic, Gerardo, what's up? Let's get right back into it. Now, let's start off with talking a little bit about a short recap of last weekend's fights. I want to start off with talking about Edgar Berlanga, okay, against Damon Nicholson. I did watch the fight. I just haven't had the time to do a recap on the fight. But you guys were here when I spoke briefly about that fight, leading up to that fight. Shout out to Kano Local Sports. He joined us for a little bit to talk about Edgar Berlanga and some of the other Puerto Rican fighters. So what do I think of that fight? What did I think? I thought it was a cool fight. It was a good performance. It went to distance. I know there was a lot of knockdowns in that fight. All right. But overall, I think Edgar needs to keep working his way up. It wasn't a bad performance, right? He shows, to me, I feel like he needs to set up his shots better. He needs to start making a better use of his jab. And this is something that we talked about before, but he definitely needs to do that. Okay. I am not ready to see him fight the top fighters at 168 or 175. The guys' names that's been coming up, like the Jesse Harts of the world and all these guys. I'm not saying he's not ready, but what I'm saying is I still want to gradually see him fight more fights, like the way Jaime Munguia is going at the pace. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Jaime Munguia too as well in this video. All right. But I want to see a little bit more before we get to those big names. I think Gabe Rosado is a good step up. All right. I think that is good. I'm going to talk a little bit about Gabe too, but we're not going to get Gabe. All right. But I thought overall it was a solid performance, but he still has a lot of work to get done. I think there's still a lot more room for improvement. And yes, he knocked down a lot of guys in the first round. That's cool. But this is the first time we've seen him actually box and go, 10 rounds. And I thought he was cool, but not ready for the big leagues yet. All right. So let's not go to the very top of the divisions. You know, people bring up Canelo. A lot of people brought up Canelo. A lot of people are bringing up some of the other top fighters at 168, former champions. I just don't think he's ready for those type of guys yet. And I don't want to continue seeing him get compared to those guys just because there's a lot of hype around his name. Yes, there is a lot of hype, but it doesn't necessarily mean he should be in a ring with these guys. All right. So I want to see a little bit more. I think he's a good boxer, but again, I think he has a problem with setting up his shots. We need to see him work behind his jab a little bit more. Yes, you have power. We know that you're capable. And I think if he really wanted to, I think he could have knocked out Nicholson early. If he wanted to, he probably could have done it. Maybe not in the first round, but maybe 2-3 rounds. And he could have wanted to. We know that he was drawing the fight out. But all I saw was a lot of him following Nicholson and not him throwing anything out there to set up the big shots. And I think if he used that, he would have knocked out Nicholson a lot earlier. You know, it didn't need to go to distance. You know, so for all the other people that he's getting, I know he has I know he's already like becoming a celebrity. That's cool. You know, he's getting the notice. He's getting noticed. He's getting the attention and everything. That's cool. But as far as him actually boxing round by round, there's a lot of fighters out there that I think is more. They have more talent and experience, and I think it's clear. So I'm not ready for the Jesse Hart fight. You know, I'm not ready for the other top guys that we've been naming out there. You know, I'm just not ready for me. All right. I want to see more rounds from him. I want to see him work behind his jab a little bit more, make some sort of use of his jab because it wasn't there. He was swinging hard, heavy shots and missing a lot, you know, and Nicholson's job was to do that. That was the reason why he was there. This is why he was picked for this fight, you know, because Nicholson had some good defense there. All right. He moved well. He had a good jab. He had a pretty decent counter. He was countering. I noticed a few counters in there. And I like that. I like to see that. So these are one of those improvement level opponents. A guy that was able to stick in there and take the shots, get hit, went down a few times, keep getting up. We need him. We need to see more opponents like that. But we don't need a Benavidez. Benavidez is no, absolutely not at this point. All right. And that's no hating on him. It's just that I want to see him improve like a Jaime Munguia. We keep getting these fights with Munguia, improvements, but not the top guy yet at 160 or at 154 when he was there, even though he was a champion. All right. All right. So let's move on. Let's talk about Emmanuel Navarrete dominated Christopher Diaz. I mean, Jesus. He dominated Christopher Diaz. Dominated Diaz. And I really like Diaz. And I actually wanted him to win. You know, I've been watching him for a while, and I really wanted him to win that fight. Navarrete, nothing against him, but this was just by far the most impressive fight I've seen him in up to this point. I mean, we all knew that he was a puncher, a pressure fighter coming forward, but I like the way he was setting it up. Like, you got to go after a guy that's fighting on his back foot, guy that's moving, using his legs, lighter on his feet. If you want to go after a guy like that, that's exactly how you do it. And the thing is, with Navarrete, what I've noticed about him is he's pretty light on his feet as well. He doesn't get enough credit for cutting off the ring like the way that he did in that fight. He doesn't get the credit for doing that. You know, a lot of credit the way he cut off the ring and was able to catch up to this guy. Diaz could not get away from him. You know, so you got to give him credit for that. Another thing you got to give him credit for is he throws punches, power shots from weird angles. He's kind of herky-jerky. And Diaz just couldn't figure him out. Very impressive win. I am very impressed with Navarrete at this point. Shout out to Charles Edward Cheese. Thank you for the huge donation. What up, Wave? David Washington for sure. Berlanga versus Jake Paul. Well, he will destroy Jake Paul. All right. I don't want to go that low. All right. But I was speaking about Jake Paul a little bit in the one of my recent live videos that I did. And I did talk about Jake Paul. I did talk about the exhibitions. And you know what? We're going to get more and more and more exhibitions. A lot of these fighters are going to get these deals and fight because we don't have just ESPN no more. It's not just ESPN, Showtime, DAZN. We have Fight TV. We have Triller. Okay, and Triller, they have the whole thing where the commentary is comical. It's like No one's sober. You know, it's fun to watch. It's a good time. And this is what I was saying last week. It's a good time. It's a good time. So if you're just looking for some entertainment, again, Andre fought the same day. But after that Triller card, no boxing fan was talking about Andre. They were talking about Triller and Snoop and Oscar and Jake Paul and Ben Askren. Everybody was talking about that. No one was talking about the actual boxing matches. Regis Prograis fought on the same card. No one was talking about that. I mean, they talked about it a little bit, but again, Jake Paul knocks out Ben Askren in the first round. Everybody's like, oh, did he take a dive? You know, who is he going to fight next? He's starting beef with other fighters. People love the entertainment factor. It's like loving hip hop. It's like reality TV. They love it. And more boxers are going to get up down with it because, listen, if you're selling 1.5 million pay-per-views, people are going to get down with it. They're going to get down with it. So, you know, I mean, it is what it is. All right. But listen, Emmanuel Navarrete, very impressive win. Love the win. And I said recently that 126 is one of my least favorite divisions because it's a division that most fighters do not unify. They just don't unify for whatever reason. There's talent there. It's just that most of these guys, I feel that 126 is a pit stop. If you look at the recent years, a lot of guys went to 126 from 122. You know, they went there and did what they either started at 126 or stopped at 126 before going to 130. You know, I would really like to see him fight Gary Russell Jr. But Gary Russell Jr. he has not done anything outside of fighting his mandatories. You know, I would love Gary Russell Jr. I would love Emmanuel Navarrete against Leo Santa Cruz. I would love that fight. I would love to see that fight. That is a great fight. I would love to see that fight. So hopefully we get to see it. It is what it is. I don't know what's going to happen next. You know, I did see Joet Gonzalez say that he is willing to take the fight. That's cool, but I think Navarrete beats him too. You know, but it's good to stop Christopher Diaz, a guy that you know, has been in there with a few good fighters, and to actually stop him so late. Yes, it was very late. At first viewing, I was like, a little too, and I'm sorry, I apologize. There's a lot of construction going on in front, so hopefully it's not ruining the quality of the audio here. But you know, what was I saying? Just lost my thought. Anyway, Joet Gonzalez, I think Navarrete will destroy him, you know, but that's cool. Diaz been in there with a few good fighters. Navarrete beat him the best. I thought the stoppage was late, but it was the corner that stopped. There was 20 seconds left. I thought that they should have let him finish it out, but you know what? All it takes is one more punch that can really put you in critical danger. You know, we don't want that. So the stoppage is fair. Christopher Diaz is a warrior. He got up like 4 times. Nothing to really take away from him. And, you know, that's that. All right. So let's move down the list. Few random things that I heard this week, throughout the week. We're going to go through it. Lawrence Okoli. He says he wants to fight Maris Briedis. I love the fight. You know, I said after Okoli won against Okoli won. Who did he beat? Krzysztof Glowacki. I love the Briedis fight. Not sure if he's ready for Briedis, but you know, he's a champion at this point. He wants to fight. He acknowledged that Briedis is the best guy, the top dog at the division. And you know, if he wants to fight and Briedis is ready, is willing to deal with that fight before moving up, because we know Briedis wants to go up to heavyweight, or he wants to go up to that new division that's the WBC Bridgerweight division. If he's willing to do that, that's cool. Whatever he is going to do, that's fine. But if he's willing to take one more fight before moving up, I would love to see that fight. I would love to see him match up against Okolie. So he says he wants to fight. I like the fact that Okolie is willing to get in the ring with the best. He acknowledged that Briedis is the best, which he is. And he said, I want to fight him right now. So I like that. I like that. So let's talk about Canelo and Saunders. Judges. This fight is next weekend. All right. Saunders made some comments about the judges. All right. I believe that he said that he wanted to get like a Mexican judge, an American judge, you know, a British judge. He wanted it to be neutral. This is my thing, right? And plus, you got to remember, they are fighting in Texas. Canelo's a cash cow here. Like, this is not new with boxing. We know how boxing works. When you are the star, when you are the cash cow, you kind of have control of the rules. So if you want to have a catch weight, if you want to have a rehydration clause, if you want to have, you know, the fight at a certain venue, you know, if you want to have the judges, pick the judges out, the referee out, whatever it is, this is what cash cows do. Floyd Mayweather did some of it. Manny Pacquiao done some of it. Miguel Cotto. This is what cash cows do. All right. So this is my thing. These are my thoughts on this situation. And it's real short and it's real quick. At the end of the day, Billy Joe Saunders and all of these other guys at 168, 160, even some at 175 were waiting around to see what Canelo was going to do. All right. They're all waiting around to see what Canelo's going to do. You don't wait around for Canelo, get your shot, and then start complaining about who the judges are, yada, yada, yada. Listen, it's always been this way. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying that it should be this way. What I'm trying to say is you had other options. And we know that Canelo is a cash cow. You don't get to pick what goes on here. And if we're talking about fairness, Billy Joe Saunders is the last person that should be talking about any of that, because not too long ago, he tested positive for some illegal substance and we didn't get the Andre fight. And he never went back to even entertaining that fight. So at the end of the day, take the fight. You wanted the fight. You and Callum Smith and Plant and Benavidez, none of you guys were unified. I'm not trying to blame who, but all I know is at the end of the day, you had all these champions at 168 before Canelo got there, and none of you guys were trying to fight each other. So now that he's there and you guys are all waiting for your turn to get, you know, into the Canelo sweepstakes. Yes. Are they planning a fight against Plant in later in the year, picking out venues? Yeah, they shopping around. You know why? Because it's Canelo at the end of the day. This is big money. Do I think it's fair? No, it should be fair. Would I rather it be fair? Yes, because Canelo's history. There are fights that I don't think the judges were fair. I think that's true. All right. But at the end of the day, this is how it works in boxing. Boxing is not fair. It's never been fair. Life's not fair. You wanted the fight. You got the fight. Shut up and fight them. You know, whatever you agreed on, and that's that. All right. Let's not act like you weren't going to take the fight if they didn't agree with your terms. Because this is the only fight. This is the only fight that everybody else was waiting for in that division. You, Benavidez, Smith, you and Smith are you both from the same country and you have the same promoter. What was your excuse for not fighting each other? You both fight on the zone. What's the problem? You didn't fight each other because you was waiting on the Canelo bag. All right. So the whole thing with the judges, all right, whatever. It's, you know what? You didn't get the judges you wanted. All right. Well, you know, you still wanted the fight. And that was a priority for him and everybody else in the division. Shout out to everyone that's here. Make sure you hit that like button, man. I am reading some of the comments. Shout out to my man, Captain Crochet, Punch, Quote is in here. Carter Rivers, I see you. Young Hollywood, everyone that's here. Hit that like button, man. If you haven't hit it already, make sure you hit that like button. And if you haven't already by now, I'm sure all of you are subscribed, but make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and hit the bell notification, please. Hit that button. You have to hit that button because YouTube and their notification system is not the greatest. All right. But yeah, I think if this fight is going to be competitive, I think the fight will be competitive if Billy is 100% at his best. If he is that night, I think it will be competitive. For how long, that I don't know. All right. But Billy on his very best day will be a very competitive opponent for Canelo, in my opinion. All right. It really depends on what Billy we're getting. And even if Billy is at his very best, it still may not be enough. All right. So let's keep moving forward. Another fight that heard guys talking about. I mean, these guys have been going back and forth a little bit in the media. But the only reason why I'm bringing it up now is because I'm interested in it. And I'm interested in this being an MMA clash instead of a boxing fight. Dillian White against Francis Ngannou. I would love to see that fight. Now, we saw that Ngannou said that he is willing to, Jesus Christ. Ngannou is, these ambulances are going out of control. Ngannou is willing to box with him. But Dillian White said he's willing to do the MMA route. I would rather them do the MMA route because I don't want to hear that a fighter is at a disadvantage. Dillian White has MMA experience, kickboxing experience. And at the end of the day, Francis Ngannou is not trying to do takedowns. That won't be the excuse. You know, when we see the fighters go on that side, usually, you know, the boxer is going to get taken down. You know, they don't have no ground game. Yo, if Dillian White goes over and fights him in a cage, he doesn't have to worry about Francis taking him down. These dudes could scrap and just use hands, you know? So if Dillian White, and I really think this fight can happen, it'll be a lot of money involved. Yeah, the boxing fight can happen too because Ngannou does has hands. He does has hands as a fighter, but he's not a boxer at the end of the day. He's not. That would be an advantage for Dillian White. I mean, this is a high-level boxer at this point, you know? Ngannou, you don't have to worry about him taking you down. He's going to try to knock you out, bro. So if these guys going back and forth, maybe it shouldn't happen right now. But I think at some point, this fight can be a lot of money. Even if they were to fight, well, Dillian White is probably like 31, 32. How old is Dillian White? Let's look him up real quick. Dillian White is like 31, 32. Let's see. Dillian White is 33. Oh, wow. He's 33. Okay. Oh, his birthday just passed. So he just turned 33. I think Francis Ngannou might be a little bit older than him. But, you know, at the end of the day, if all else fails, all right, Ngannou is 34. He'll be 35 in September. All else fails, this fight is always an option. And that's pretty much what I'm saying here. Yeah, this fight will always be available. I love it. All I'm just saying is that if this fight were to happen, it should be in the cage. Somebody will get knocked out. We'll all enjoy it. Or the boxing fans will go over there and watch it. Or the MMA fans are already there. This is one of those fights. Or if they want to go and do the Triller thing or whatever, they can make a lot of money regardless. All right. Francis is the heavyweight champion over at the UFC. Dillian White is a star in the UK. They'll make their money. It's huge fan bases on both ends. So yeah, pay-per-view Dizzle said so they should fight in about 2 years. Yeah, I agree. 2 years. Dillian White can, do his little things. Whatever he's trying to do, he's trying to get a title fight. He's very close to it. He's been close to it for about 3-4 years now. And I think Ngannou is the top dog over there. All right. He has a couple of rematches he can do, a couple other big fights. We'll see. All right. Maybe, I know they've been entertaining a John Jones fight, entertaining a rematch with Derek Lewis, maybe, I don't know. All right. So let's move down the list. All right. So let's go down to 135. Let's talk Lomachenko against Nakatani being announced. I believe the date was like in June sometime. Correct me if I'm wrong. But everything that I said was going to happen at the 135 a couple months ago is all coming together. I said that this division is pretty much like a tournament right now, where you got Tio. He's fighting Kambosos Jr., which is a mandatory. We had Ryan Garcia against Javier Fortuna. I'll get to that in a minute. And now you have Lomachenko against Nakatani. And you also got Devin Haney against this guy, Jorge Linares. All fights. So I said this a few months ago. Like, this is what we should be getting. These are the fights that we should be getting. All of these fights, big fights, top level fights. And the winner of these fights should be fighting each other. Whatever way you want to mix it up, I'm cool with Linares. Whoever winning these fights, these guys should all be fighting each other. And I also said that Lomachenko should fight Nakatani because it's a tough fight. Nakatani gave Teofimo Lopez hell. We all thought it was Lopez, I know he had some kind of injury in that fight, but Nakatani has a difficult style and he has a tough chin. He was able to take Tio's power. He was able to take Verdejo's power. He's tall. He's long. He's much taller than all of these guys. It's a great fight for Loma. And this is a guy that keeps coming. You're not going to just be able to take him out. This guy has a great 1-2. And he can move well. Okay? Yeah, you can counter him, but Loma is not the biggest puncher in this division. And that's what makes this fight so intriguing. Because even though Loma is going to come in and step in and counter and land his shots, is he going to be able to take him out? I'm not so sure about that. It's going to take a lot of work in order to take Nakatani out. Nakatani got hurt badly by Verdejo. Was that his last fight? I believe it was. Yes, it was. He got hurt badly, but you got to remember, Nakatani went like a year and a half without fighting. His last fight was against Teofimo Lopez, where he lost a decision. That's a good-ass fight. So I think this fight is a great fight. I think it's a tough fight for Loma. I'm picking Loma to win. But don't be surprised if Loma doesn't look that impressive in this fight. Because of the styles. Not because of Loma, because of the styles. Love this fight. Let's talk about Ryan Garcia. All right. He made a post on IG. It's been a little bit, maybe about 5 days ago or so. He made a post about IG, basically saying that he's withdrawing from the fight with Javier Fortuna. Okay, so he's withdrawing from the fight. And And he talked a lot about, he has to focus on his mental health. He's been dealing with depression. He's been dealing with some mental issues. Now, I'm not one to question his mental health at all. I'm not that kind of guy. Mental health is really a real thing. So I hope he gets better. I'll also say this too, and I've said this before, and I've been consistent with this when it comes to this channel. I don't want fighters to fight when they're not mentally there. I just don't want to do it. When a fighter seems like they don't want the fight, don't take the fight, because I don't want to hear any excuses afterwards. If the fight doesn't go your way, I don't want to hear like I wasn't mentally there that night. So that's my stance. That's my stance, and that's always been my stance. I've even said that about Keith Thurman. I've been saying that for the last 2-3 years. I just don't feel like Keith is the same person. And I know we all age and we evolve as people. He got married and stuff like that. But I don't feel like Keith Thurman is the same guy. I don't think he has the drive. I don't think he has the confidence, no matter what he says. But then he recently came back and said that he dealt with depression after he lost to Manny Pacquiao. And I was saying this before the Manny Pacquiao fight. You can kind of tell. So I'm not going to put down Ryan Garcia. I don't like the fact that a lot of guys go after these guys, these younger guys. I think they're young. Ryan, Devin Haney. I don't like when people attack them, especially when they're grown, man. They're going through the motions. They're growing up. They're maturing as people. So I will never, ever attack Ryan, Devin, all those guys in T.O. I'm just not going to do it. They're just too young. They're too green, too. But what I will say is this. There's people that will slander Devin Haney, that slandered him throughout all this time, saying that he's a fake champion, he didn't fight nobody, yada, yada, yada. But one thing that's true is that Ryan did duck Haney. They're both on the same platform fighting. They both came up the same way. They both fought each other in the amateurs. This guy stepped in the ring, called him out to his face. Devin's been winning that fight. Now, I don't know if it's because of Oscar. I don't know what the issue is. I know Ryan fought Luke Campbell, who's better than anyone right now that Devin Haney has fought, right? It's fair. But my thing is this. Ryan, the way they sold him was based off his IG following, his social media following. And it just goes to show all those followers, it doesn't mean shit, man. That's what social media has done to people. It's giving them a false reality that they are bigger than who they are, or that they're more confident in themselves than they actually are. It's all a mirage. It's not real. For you, out of all these boxers, you probably got more followers than any boxer that's not, Floyd Mayweather maybe, or whatever, or Manny Pacquiao. I don't know how many guys. Bro, all of that fame, razzle-dazzle stuff, it's not real, because in reality, you really going through some mental issues. You going through depression. And part of that social media following stuff is what gives people mental health issues. I'm not even talking about celebrities. I'm talking about normal, regular, everyday people are going through going through depression because of social media. Because you have to live up to this persona that you created about yourself. Or maybe your promoters or whoever created about you. You know what I'm saying? So I am a little disappointed, because I feel like all this time, the person that you were pretending to be is not who you are. You're not a humble guy. So when you're not a humble guy and you're talking to Tank and you're talking to Devin Haney and you having, you're going all these back and forths, I've always questioned him a little bit. You know why? Because once he beat Luke, they went straight to Manny Pacquiao. They went straight to like big name people. And I said, like, to me, I don't know if I said this on camera, but to me, it gave me cash out vibes. It did. You don't beat Luke Campbell and then start just going straight to like, I want a Manny Pacquiao fight. Like, what? Like, do you want to fight any of your peers? Did you really want to fight Tank? Did you really want to fight T.O.? Or do you want to fight anybody that's in the same area code as you? I'm not sure. Yeah, you beat Luke, and I'm giving you mad credit, but you did get dropped in that fight. Now, you won. You pulled it off. You get a lot of credit for that. But at the end of the day, you did get dropped. Even in victory, maybe that the performance messed up with your mind. And you're like, yeah, I beat Luke. I did what I had to do to beat Luke. But can I beat Fortuna, Linares, Haney, T.O., Tank, all these guys, Lomachenko, all these other guys that's around that division? So I'm not sure how he really feels in his head. But I know right now that he's not the guy that I thought he was. Or no, not means I say thought, because I really don't know these people. What I'm saying is, I don't know if he's the guy. Well, he's definitely not the guy that I thought he was based on the way he presents himself. So when we slander the other fighters, if you're a big fan of Ryan, or maybe you're not a big fan of him, but you're a big fan of him because of you run with your own. He's a Mexican fighter, so maybe you hold him down because of those reasons. If you're a supporter of him, you would slander the people that's their names that are attached to him, like Tank or Devin Haney. So if you were slandering them based on who they were facing, but yet this guy is going into one of his toughest matches against Fortuna, and he withdraws because of mental health issues, you have to wonder now, like, damn, did he really want to take these other challenges too? Or was it just all cap for the internet? And that's the point that I'm trying to make. I hope he gets better. Again, this is mental health issues is a real thing. So I would never slander him, and I would never slander any of these young guys. I think it's corny just doing it. You got to be a certain age. At some point where you're just dumb and you keep making the same mistakes, yeah, we're going to call you out on it. But these young guys, I'm going to call them out if they're ducking or whatever, they're lying. But I'm not going to ever like totally drown them because they're too young and they're going through the motions. So if he needs some time to get out the game, fine. But me personally, I'm not going to look at you like the same. Like, you're not the same. Like, your tweets, if you ever go back to tweeting, talking trash, or going back to IG and making it seem like, yeah, I got 8-10 million followers, I don't care about that, bro. I care about what you do in a ring, and I've always been that way. That social media shit doesn't faze me. That's just it's all fake. It's like you could be whoever you want to be on the internet. So that's how I feel about Ryan Garcia. Hopefully he gets better, and don't come back until you figure all of that out, until you're there. Maybe you'll never be there. Maybe boxing is not for you. Say that about Mikey Garcia. Don't come back and fight if you really don't care for this. The Errol Spence fight was just a straight, I don't want to fight Lomachenko. I don't want to fight anyone that I want to lose. If I'm going to lose, I'm going to go after a guy that it's going to take a lot for me to actually beat. Chances are I lose. That kind of fight. So just going straight to the big bag fights, which isn't a problem, but don't try to make it seem like you're searching for greatness when you're not. All right. So let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about Deontay Wilder. I seen Wilder I'm sure we all seen it by now. Deontay Wilder, he posted up like a training video. Him and Malik Scott. He was hitting the mitts, and he posted on social media. I guess this is probably like the first thing of anything that we see Wilder actually training and preparing to get back to the ring. You know, it's been a while. We know we haven't seen Wilder since last February. Made countless videos. Not me really, but I made a couple of videos last year on who he should face when he comes back. First of all, I really don't think anything's going to get announced at this point. I really believe at this point that I'm not sure if Fury and Joshua is going to happen. This is why, you know, I know a lot of you just keep asking, you know, what's my thoughts on the fight, who I think is going to win, do a breakdown, yada, yada, yada. I honestly was never really sure if that fight was going to go down, you know, and I still don't know. I still don't know. You have Hearn saying one thing, you have Bob and Fury and them saying a different tune. You know, I really don't know. I really don't know. You know, I don't know. I really don't know at this point. I know Wilder's preparing, but at this point, I don't know if he's going to fight Fury for a third time. I don't have no idea what's going to go down. I always felt like I thought it was unrealistic for Fury to come back after going over a year of not fighting and being inactive to go straight into Joshua. Not that I think it's something impossible to do, but Fury just hasn't fought. He was supposed to fight in December. He didn't fight in December, and he's been inactive for over a year now. We got 14, 15 months of inactivity. That's his fault. No one else should be blamed. I mean, yes, we had COVID last year, but there were opportunities to fight. But as far as Deontay Wilder, he's been out of the ring as well, you know. I know that they were really pushing hard for a third fight. Venues were down, things were closed. Boxing was closed for a little bit last year. Then some kind of, I guess the contract expired, all right? And the fight never took place. I wrote a little list here of like realistic potential Wilder opponents. And when I say realistic, if it's not Fury, I mean guys that's not scheduled to fight. You know, guys that are not, like, I'm not going to name Kanowski because he's supposed to come back and have that rematch. So I'm not going to put guys that I know he's not going to fight. Not guys that's like on a high level, top 5, top 6. I'm not going to name those guys. I know he's not going to come back on his first fight and fight Dillian White. So I'm not going to name him. Derek Chisora and Parker's fighting this weekend. I'm not going to name him. But yo, this is a few names that I brought up. If he is going to come back, realistic names that I think is just cool. I think at the very best, if you are to come back and take some sort of challenge, I would say Charles Martin or Otto Walling. All right. I think those are the top 2 guys that if you're going to come back and before you fight Andy Ruiz, I would say those are probably the most 2 dangerous that are kind of realistic. You know, there are tune-ups, but those can be fights that if you're off that night, you might lose. Helenius, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, Helenius and Kanowski. You also got Carlos Takam, who's still out there. That's a tune-up to me. Nathan Gorman, to me, is a tune-up. Sergey Kuzmin is a tune-up for me. Trevor Bryan, even though he has a piece of the WBA title, is a tune-up for me. David Allen is a tune-up. Andre Fedosov is a tune-up. Bogdan Dinu, who's very, very high on the WBA ranking for whatever reason, is a tune-up to me. Those are names that I think that are realistic comeback fights after getting knocked out and after being inactive. Those are realistic fights. Not fights that I want, but fights that I think that are realistic based on the history of Deontay Wilder opponents and the fact that he's coming off of a loss and inactivity. All right. Yeah, I'm mentioning weird names, but I'm being realistic here based on who Wilder has fought. All right. You'll have to go down the list. Chris Arreola, Gerald Washington, you know. So let's see who Wilder fought. Who did Wilder fight over the years? Before Fury and Ortiz, you know, he fought Stavern a second time. You know, he fought Brazil. Brazil was already knocked out by Anthony Joshua. Okay. He fought Arthur Spilka. He fought Duhapar, Eric Molina, you know, Jason Garand. You know, this is a point where Wilder already had like 40 KOs, you know, or 35 plus KOs in a row. So I'm only going with what we know and what we've seen in the past. So I like the Charles Martin fight. And I think it's realistic. I like it. And I also like Otto Wallen. I really like that. I would not listen if he were to fight one of those two, I wouldn't have any issues at all, man. I wouldn't have issues. You know, I don't even have issues. My whole thing is just get in the ring. You know, do something. So that's my thoughts on it. Just get back in the ring, get back on it. Bivol, who is going to be fighting this weekend, he's going to be fighting on the undercard. I believe he's going to be fighting on the undercard of Joseph Parker and Derek Chisora. He said he could make 168 and fight Canelo. He's said that before. He's not a big 175 pounder. Me personally, like, I don't think Canelo would fight him. You know, I think if, let's say, the Caleb Plant fight falls apart, whatever, they can't work things out with the PBC. If that fight cannot happen, I think maybe he would entertain a Bivol fight. I would love to see that fight. That's a fight that I wanted to see at 175, though. Now, Bivol can make the weight, fine. I just don't want no tricks. Hopefully, it's not no rehydration clauses or anything like that. But my whole thing is I would rather prefer the fight to happen at 175. Just so it won't be any advantages. But if Bivol decided to come down and fight at 168, I'm okay with that. I'm cool with that. You know, I would take that as I still think that would be one of Canelo's best wins in recent years. I know a lot of these other fighters got bigger names than him. All right, but Bivol is legit to me. You know, he's my personal favorite guy at 175 right now. And I would love to see the fight. But I would rather see it at 175, even though Bivol is not a huge guy at 175. I just don't want to hear any drainage issues. I don't want to hear no excuses if he is to lose. I just want him to fight. I want guys to fight each other as their very best. When I say favorite, Bivol is not the best at better at 175. Better BF is. He's the more proven to be the best. What I'm saying is he's my personal favorite fighter to watch at 175 right now. All right. So speaking on 175 real quick, Pascal and Jack rematch is going to be on the Floyd Mayweather, Logan Paul, the other Paul undercard. You know what's weird? When I heard about this, I remember seeing the fight, but I don't remember how it went. Like, I remember John Pascal against Marcus Brown. Now, I remember how that fight went, but for some reason, when I thought, I'm like, they're having a rematch. It's like one of those fights where I know I saw it, but I can't remember how it played out. I know it was a split decision win, but I can't remember how I saw the fight. All right, but Jack won the first. No, Pascal won the first fight. I always felt like this. Jack, it is really based on Jack. I think Jack can beat Pascal, but Jack takes too long to get it going. Like, he's a very slow starter. And I mean by slow, I mean he might give you 6 rounds up front. You know, like Pascal, for some reason, and maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong here because I don't remember how that fight went. But looking at past Bottle Jack fights, he starts very, very slow. I still believe that Jack's best performance by far was against Anthony Durrell. You know, he did what he had to do in that fight at that point. But Bottle Jack in every other fight, to me, I just feel like he always could have done so much more if he got it going. You know, he has to get somebody like, listen, you got to take a couple of rounds to figure out your opponent. All right, take 1 or 2 rounds, but bro, you can't be giving away like 5, 6 rounds off at jump. Like, you can't do that. You can't do it. I think he had a draw with Adonis Stevenson. Stevenson was like 41 in that fight. You had an opportunity there to take you got to have the killer instinct. He doesn't have it. You know, he's the ripper, but you got to rip. Like, you got to start ripping in your fights, bro. So we're going to get that fight. You know, Pascal is always kind of still dangerous. Not many fighters look good against Pascal. I mean, even when Kovalev was in his prime in that first fight, yeah, Kovalev won, but he made Kovalev look bad. You know, at a time where many fighters were just getting dominated by Kovalev, Pascal kind of made him look bad in that first fight. You know, I know Kovalev destroyed him in the second fight, but, you know, Pascal is a fighter that kind of just, he's difficult. He's going to be difficult all the way to the end, you know? So, all right, it's a cool fight. It's a cool fight. Nothing to make me rush and pay for the pay-per-view, though. I'm not interested in the fight at all with Floyd and Logan Paul, you know. And if anything, if Floyd gonna fight one of the Pauls, fight the other Paul. Fight the one that is the entertaining one, you know, where like the guy got a bigger buzz. Jake Paul's buzz is bigger to me right now. You know, I know Logan Paul was doing the YouTube fights earlier with KSI and stuff. That's cool. But at the end of the day, like right now, Jake Paul his name is buzzing more right now. You know, he's more entertaining. He's very disrespectful. He talks a lot of shit. That's more in that would make more of a fight to me, you know. But I understand that. I think this fight was already being negotiated before Jake Paul knocked out Nate Robinson. All right. So that fight is on the undercard. Jarrett Hurd against Arias. I forgot his first name. Jarrett Hurd is going to be making his return. And I believe that this fight, I'm not sure if it's at 154, 160, but I just was talking about Jarrett Hurd, and I'm glad he's returning. He's finding a solid opponent. Arias was in there with who he's in there. He was in there with Luke Keeler. I think he lost to him recently. Luis Arias. Yeah, Louis Arias was in there with he was in there with a few guys. But it's a comeback fight. Yeah, Danny Jacob beat him. But it's a solid fight. I just want to see, again, I'm glad that Hurd is coming back. I just want to see him back, man, at this point. You know, it's been a minute. But rest in peace to his dad. He lost his dad. You know, he lost to J-Rock. He came back and fought once. Didn't look impressive in the first fight he came back in. I just hope that he still has it, you know, because at one point, man, people love Jarrett Hurd. He was giving us some classic fights. Boom, the Tony Harrison fight. Classic. You know, The Lara fight, classic. People don't even like Lara, but Lara, that fight with him and her was one of the best fights that year. That was a great fight, you know. So Hurd brings, and J-Rock fight was crazy. That fight was crazy. I want to go back and watch that fight. That was a good fight. That was one of the best fights that year too. So I want Hurd to come back, but I hope Hurd can get it together. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what weight he's fighting at, because I was looking at videos on social media like last year, and Hurd looked like he was a super middleweight or super not even light heavyweight. He looked really, really big. All right, but shout out to Hurd, man, and hopefully he looks good. Now this fight I heard about, and it does not make any sense to me, and this goes back to me talking about Edgar Berlanga earlier. Gabe Rosado is gonna fight Bektamir Melikuziev. I don't know what's up with that fight, man. Like, to me, and I know Melikuziev is not really that proven yet, but I think it's pretty clear that he can beat Gabe Rosado unless he's extremely overrated. I don't see Gabe winning that fight. I wish to be honest with you, I think it would have been a better fight if he had just went to straight and be that first guy to challenge Edgar Berlanga. Melikuziev, bully. If you guys haven't seen him yet, he's a 168 fighter, Eastern European fighter. He almost fought Kovalev. I think if you guys don't remember him, a few months ago he was supposed to fight Kovalev, but the fight was canceled. All right. This kid is only like 7-0. He's very powerful. Look him up. Bektamir Melikuziev. Bek the Bully. That's his nickname. Yo, Rosado should have fought Berlanga. At first you're saying you're not looking for him. You're looking for bigger places. If you're not going to fight Berlanga, why not fight Berlanga and then go fight Melikuziev? That's crazy to me, because you're facing the same type of danger. You're facing another guy with heavy hands who's younger and fresher than you. At least fight the famous one, dude from Brooklyn. You're from Philly. We could have had that fight in the Barclays. Would have been there. What are you fighting Melikuziev for? This dude might knock you out, bro. This guy is not you get what I'm saying? When I heard that news, I'm like, bro, you should have fought Berlanga. If you're going to take this fight Berlanga instead. Berlanga would have been a better fight, and people would have hyped it up. It would have been promoted, and it would have been a good enough fight. I'll tell you this. Gabe Rosado coming off of his draw or loss to Daniel Jacobs, coming off of that fight and going straight to fighting Edgar Berlanga, all right, who's getting all the hype and attention right now, could have been the main event of his own card. By that time, because Edgar just fought, we might have had a fight here in an arena, and it would have been the main event. People would have showed out. I don't know if it would have got crazy, but I would have went to that fight. Now, I know this New York bias there, but Philly against New York, two Puerto Rican fighters? You gonna fight Melikuziev? Well, Melikuziev, I mean, listen, I'm not saying that the Rosado and Berlanga fight will never happen, but what I'm saying is Rosado got a nice little thing going right now, right? People respect him. I know I do. He's probably my favorite journeyman, right? The fight still might be there in the future. Maybe next year. Who knows? I just think that it just doesn't make sense. I don't know. Anyway, Selecki is going to be fighting Jaime Munguia. All right, that fight is rescheduled and is back on in June. Good fight. I have no problems with it. I think Munguia is a very exciting fighter to watch. You know, he's not really technically sound or anything like that. I think he needs to take these fights because you can't always get into the action fights. Saluki is a guy, he's the technician of the two. So you need to fight guys like that to improve yourself. So I like the fight. The only thing is, I really don't have an issue with this fight. I think it's a challenging fight. I think Munguia definitely has the power to hurt him. He definitely can overwhelm Salecki. But if he can't hurt him, and this ends up being one of those fights where it's going to be like a Dennis Hogan type of thing, because Salecki is bigger than Dennis Hogan. To me, he's better. But he's just as good of a boxer as a Dennis Hogan is, or might even be a little better. I can see it going all wrong if Munguia is not able to hurt Salecki. I personally thought Dennis Hogan beat Munguia, and that was at 160, and Dennis Hogan moved up to fight him. All right, I thought I scored it 8 rounds to 4 for Dennis Hogan. All right, some swing rounds in there, but I think Munguia got a gift that night. Salecki's a better fighter. Munguia has gotten better since then, so it should be a even matchup. All right, but a cool fight. I have no problems with it. I have no problems with it, man. All right, so listen, I think I ran down the list. I know everyone wants me to talk about these weekend's fights. I'm gonna save that for tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, I'm gonna go shoot up to my dad's. I haven't been up to my dad, so I'll probably be up there. I'll be up there, and I'll be dropping some content tomorrow. I'll go on live in the morning. We'll do the whole breakdown of the card. We'll talk about Derek Chisora against Joseph Parker. I'm not really sure. I'm kind of leaning towards Parker, though. I've always been leaning towards Parker, but I'm not really sure. You can't sleep on Chisora unless Chisora fights is super elite. I normally think it's a close fight with anybody else. You know, if you're not talking about the top 5, top 8 guys, I think Chisora is dangerous for anybody, and towards Parker too. And then I'll do a little talk about Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz is definitely going to win against Chris. But I'll do a video tomorrow. I'll go on live in the morning and discuss both of those fights in the morning. All right. But I'm going to shoot up to my dad's now. And yeah, so I'll see you guys. Is New York back popping, Wave? New York is getting there. I've been going out a little bit. Everything is starting to open up. I don't know where you guys from, or how are things, before I get off, how are things just randomly in the comments? How are things going on where you're from? Let me know where you're from. How are things going on outside? Are they opening things back up? Are you able to go to bars, go to social spots, lounges, events? Are you able to see shows, going to the movie theaters? Have you guys gone out? How has it been for you guys in your area? I know New York is opening things back up, but you still have, like, you know, you can't, it's not fully opened, at least here. It's not fully, it's getting close to it, but it's not fully open yet. How's it where you guys are? Schools, bars, movies, England, only beer gardens are open. Okay. Florida is wide open. Yeah, I just came from Florida, so I know. Texas been open. Yeah, I heard Texas is another place where it's just kind of just been wide open. When I went to Florida, not many people were wearing masks when I was there. It was kind of like a lot of the employees to certain, you know, restaurants and stuff that I went to, people were wearing it. For the most part, they weren't wearing it like that. New York, everyone is still wearing masks. You can't even go into a local bodega without a mask on. You have to wear a mask, you know. Florida's doing good now. All right, guys. All right, listen, I'm going to get ready to get out of here. I'm going to take this ride up to my pops. So I'll definitely jump on at some point while I'm up there. Hope everyone has a good day. And I'll be back tomorrow morning to talk about Derek Chisora and Parker and Andy Ruiz and those fights. All right. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.